Hi, my name is Zoe, and I'm an English and professional writing double major. I live in Telford, which is about 20 minutes away from Kutztown, and I went to Penridge High School in Sellersville. My current career goal is as a copy editor or any type of editor, although I would also be happy pursuing publishing as a fallback. I'd also like to be a published author, although I consider that more of a hobby than like an actual career goal. I've been writing novel-length fiction for 7 years now, and I'm currently trying to get back into reading because I know it's important to read when you're a writer, but I kind of stopped doing that when I started writing recreationally. I have been a part of the Shoofly Literary Magazine's fiction committee for 2 years now, and I'm also part of the KU Climbing Club, and I have been since it was established back in the beginning of this academic year. So, I am now going to show you my portfolio. Let's scroll down. So this was my first piece, which is a profile. This was my favorite piece to do because I really liked interviewing somebody. This was for my sister, who was the understudy for Martha in Heather's the Musical. Um, I realized that I am a really fast typer when I did this because I typed up pretty much everything she said, and it was almost 2,000 words, and I used very little of it, but thought that was interesting to learn about myself. I liked using links in this. So I got to use one link, which is her singing one of Martha's songs, and also the tickets that were sold for the musical. Um, Down here, I have the hard news, which was very similar to that, although I just didn't enjoy writing it as much. Um, Here I have my obituary, which I personally did not enjoy writing because I was just kind of like caught up on the fact that I was like writing about my own death and I didn't like that. So I kind of struggled with it, but I did like learning about the structure of a obituary. Um, so that was cool. And here's my sports. I am very unfamiliar with sports and I can barely tell the difference between a baseball and a basketball. So instead, I did a profile type article on Alex Honnold, which is a very famous free soloist. Um, I used a lot of links here, but that was really fun to do. And down here I have my opinion piece, which is on book banning. This one I am not particularly proud of because I went very overzealous and it's the only one that's over a page long. But it was nice to go back to my own research because I did a paper on this back in Comp 200. It's about the vice president of my high school and like all the policies and bans that she's done. uh I don't like her. So those are my articles. I learned a lot about journalism in this class, especially because this is one of the most unfamiliar writing styles that I knew of, and I feel like it's just learned a whole lot about it. Mainly about the headline subhead lead, because ever since I learned about that, I kind of noticed that in every article that I see. In my earlier articles, I was not very good at it. For example, in this one, I don't at all mention that she's an understudy, who she's playing in my lead. But when I get down to my later ones, I succeeded a lot better in doing so, such as like in my sports. So yeah, I also learned a lot about the inverted pyramid, because in a lot of aspects of writing, you kind of want there to be like some sort of mystery and you want to build up to something and you want to make them like want more, kind of like not like clickbaiting, but I guess I kind of associated that to journalism because it's expected that you start with the most important aspects and then add additional information underneath, and that's not always the case in other types of writing. um, I also learned a lot about current events. I learned a lot about ChatGPT that I didn't know about. We talked about this more than I expected in class, and I feel personally like kind of a little scared about it as someone going into copy editing, because I'm even occasionally going to AI to edit my papers, and I'm like, if I want to replace myself, then who's going to replace me with like an AI in like a couple years, But I'd also like to talk about Spotlight. Right after we watched the movie, I saw an Instagram post where, a 500-page investigation on Marilyn Priest came out. And this was like days after we saw the movie, so I was very shocked to see this. Um, So I looked it up on the New York Times. This isn't like my go-to place for articles, but I have been more willing to look at the New York Times recently because we get like a free subscription to that, so I think that's cool. But what I noticed looking at this article is that in the headline subhead, here in the subhead, it mentions the investigation. And when you go down to the lead, they have a link directly to that investigation for you to look at. So I thought that was really interesting that, like, in fact, anything that you do say in the subhead does show up there in the lead, and you can see that right there. Um, so I thought that was interesting. But yeah, my name is Zoe, and thank you for watching.